Hey guys, it's me, Travis, with BetKarma.com and DFSKarma.com. We have the horse racing gurus of Karma. We have Caleb here, as you see in the middle, and then Ricky to the far right. They've been with us for quite some time, and if you are anywhere knowledgeable of anything stable duel, which we'll get into in a second, those are the guys that have been creating those articles for like I said, quite some time, for quite a while now. So on the screen, you see the little screenshot to my left on the screen. That is where that is a screenshot of DFSKarma.com. So at least once a week for the big events, what they do is they create an article kind of explaining a little bit about Stable Duel and how and what what horses and everything to lock in for your Stable Duel lineup. Now I say lineup because Stable Duel, what you see below, you just go to StableDuel.online, use promo code Karma to create an account. When we play those Stable Duel contests, that is a DFS lineup. So you're not just betting on a horse to win. You're actually locking in multiple horses as you would multiple players for like an NFL lineup on DraftKings. So it's the same DFS concept, but they actually use horses in all these different particular events that happen. And it's not just on the weekends either, like NFL would be. They also have stuff sprinkled in throughout the week. So for this podcast, of course, you're tuning into the Kentucky Derby breakdown. This is going to be strictly on sports betting. We're not going to be talking about the DFS side. We just want to make sure we promo our partners at StableDuel.online. But we're not going to be talking about the DFS side of things for this Kentucky Derby. If we do another one, we can, for whatever other event, like what did you say, the Preakness is in 2 weeks. We might be able to do another one for that, strictly focusing on the DFS side of things and kind of explaining a little bit more how that works. For this video, you are watching the Kentucky Derby bets with the horse racing gurus, Ricky and Caleb. So what I want to do first is mention something that I talked to these guys for 20, 30 minutes before we started recording, that I thought that when they first dropped the lineup list of how many horses are in this event, I'm like, this is crazy. Why are there like 30,000 more than there usually are? But then I told me, yeah, for this event specifically, there's always an insane amount of horses. There's 20 different horses in here, and I just went through the list. And I know a lot of people who don't pay attention to anything horse racing. I feel like the averages, they go, what's the coolest name? I'll bet on that horse. And so I'm like, okay, let me just do this before we start getting into their actual insight that is helpful. Let the dumb guy who doesn't know anything about horse racing pick a nice name. What I see here, the coolest name, Cyberknife, 20-1 odds. That's the coolest name on this list. So before we get to the grits and the gravy of who's actually going to win and what you should actually bet on, let's go down the line. Caleb, you first. What is your favorite name in this lineup?
Favorite name? I'm probably going to have to say Tiz the Bomb. I think he's got a good name, but probably the wrong surface in this race. But if I was picking on names, I'd do with Tiz the Bomb.
Tiz the Bomb. I like that one too. All right, Ricky, what do you got? Favorite name?
Yeah, I like Barber Road. I don't know. Maybe I'm a little old-fashioned here.
That is as boring as it gets. Ricky, I've never asked
Maybe I'm a little old-fashioned, but
Ricky's getting muted for the rest of this podcast.
Oh, okay. All right. Boring. I'll see myself out.
Barber Road, out of all of these names. Hey, Ricky, yeah. Oh my gosh. All right, so, Ricky, go to start with you first. If there's any, so I know there's more horses in here, so there might be a different strategy if you're betting on a race that has, maybe 10, maybe less than that. Is there any kind of overall Kentucky Derby specific strategy when it comes to betting? Anything that's like, okay, I only use this strategy for this particular race because there's so many horses or because of the track or whatever it may be? Is there anything that comes to mind right now that is Kentucky Derby specific?
Yeah, you can pretty much toss the outside horses usually. I know that.
So for the people who are watching this and because when you say that, I know you've already explained it to me, but outside just means the horse is actually on the furthest outside, but you also mean on the inside track as well still counts as outside, or are you actually saying the ones closest to the edge of the track?
The ones closest to the edge, they'd be closest to the spectators. So you're looking at gates 20, 19, 18, 17, maybe even 16. They have
the largest number that's actually won a Kentucky Derby. The largest
20,
number.
20 is won once, I think. I think it was Big Brown. I'm just going off of literally memory. They've won once. I think 17 is the only gate that's never won. Was 19 Country House a couple years ago via disqualification. So they're like maybe 1 or 2 wins out of that post. It just really doesn't happen unless you have a superstar horse. And obviously we'll get into it, but just because of the way that you're so far on the outside, you have to take so much speed to get up and get around that first turn.
So what happens to, how does a horse, let's say they're a great horse, how do they get screwed into one of these outside lanes that is something you shouldn't bet on because it's so hard for them to get up front? So what happens during the qualification process of or a gate? Are the gates, they're not randomized? Like, it's not just pulling out of a hat. Like, you actually have to earn your gate, right?
Oh no, it is pulled out of
It is 100%
it is pulled out of a hat.
random?
It
Oh
is
my
as
gosh.
random as it's so old school. One day we'll go through it and I'll show you just what they pull these little marbles out of. But
So you can have a horse that is the best racing horse in the history of horse racing, and they can just pull a number out of a hat, and it's like what is it? I don't know, just 20.
20
Let's say it's
hole,
like
yeah.
number 20.
20.
And they're screwed, and then you're not gonna, if you were gonna bet a ton of money on them or put them in your trifectas and superfectas and all that stuff, and they get gate 20, you're like, ah, crap, can't bet on them anymore.
Yeah, I instantly will toss them. I mean, it would have to be a really special horse for them. I actually made note of that a couple days ago before the draw. I was really hoping Epicenter was going to end up in one of those far outside, because I don't like the horse, so it makes it easier for me to toss the horse. Obviously, he's one of the top favorites here. I think he's second choice on the morning line, so. I personally don't like the horse. I know we're going to get into it, but I made reference on my Twitter. Get this horse in one of those far outside gates, so I really don't even have to think about him and use him anywhere on my tickets. So,
I am floored that there is an actual advantage to not having an outside or a large number like 20, 17, 18, 19, 20. There's actually an advantage to not having a large number, and it's 1,000% randomized if you get a large number. That I'm floored right now. It makes no sense.
Yeah. That's exactly how it goes. All these horses acquire points on the Derby Trail, and all of that means nothing except for being within the top 20 on the leaderboard gets you into that randomizer.
Man, I can't even imagine spending all this money, being like a horse or a stable owner, having all of this money. Yeah, we're in the draw, and then getting pulled 20. Like, I don't know. My brain, I'm still floored about that. So I know there's people watching this right now that are like, okay, stop talking. Who should I bet on? And they're novice bettors for horse betting, and so they just want the 2 wins. So before we get into anything too crazy, let's kind of go through based on the draw, based on what gate they're in. Caleb, we can start with you. Who is your favorite to win if you're only picking one, which I feel like is the traditional kind of bet. I feel like the novice horse bettor is like, okay, I'm betting on this horse. That's all I'm going to watch. The end. Who's your number one go-to? And you can also include the odds as well if that is a reasoning. Because right now I believe the best odds, what I'm looking at anyway, I mean, you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, is it Zandon?
Yes.
They're currently the favorite odds-wise, which, I mean, on the sports we're looking at right now is a 3-1 odds to win. So you can pick them if this is your favorite because they're going to win, but also try to keep that odds in there to get that more I guess you call it the bang for the buck play. But Caleb, I'll stop rambling here. Who's your favorite to win if you're just betting on a horse to win and only on one horse?
Oh man, Travis, that's a loaded question because the horse that I think
it's an amazing question, Caleb. It's the best question you've been asked this week.
The question of
it's the question we are all asked all week long.
All the time. I think the most likely winner isn't necessarily the horse that I'd want to go put a big fat win bet on just due to the price. But I think that for me, and Ricky's going to jump all over me on this one, I think Epicenter is the most likely winner.
Wrong.
I would go very confidently with Epicenter. If I'm playing, or when I'm playing this weekend, he's going to be a key for me in all my bets. I think he's going to be a key on all my big trifectas, superfectas, anything else. I just think he's a cut above most other horses in this field and a little more proven. But I know Ricky has some.
Let me ask you a question here. Does it worry you at all that the trainer of Epicenter is, let's see, a 72 race losing streak in Kentucky? He is 0 for 14 at Churchill, 0 for 18 at Keeneland, and 0 for 40 at Turfway Park. He is also 0 for 23 in the Derby. So are you telling me that you're going to trust this guy is going to get this horse?
This guy.
Yeah, that doesn't bother me that much, honestly. I think that
All of the offers. Nah, I
you
don't care
know,
about that.
because the horses
He's
he's
new,
running,
right?
the horses he's running at Turfway, and he's running in, Keeneland Claimers. I mean, it's not the Kentucky Derby, right? I mean, you
Yeah.
guys that are. It's a different crop. It's a different breed. It's a different class. It doesn't bother me. I mean, this horse has beaten, every other favorite in this race. I mean, he's beaten all comers, all challengers. So, that's not enough to really talk me off of it, but it's a reason to take a pause at maybe taking this horse at 7-2 or potentially even shorter. So I would concede that. The price is
Random noob question. How often does the Kentucky Derby favorite win? If you were just to based on your knowledge, you don't have to give me an exact
history,
number.
a lot.
I actually
Why?
saw a stat not too long ago, and there was like a nice little chunk where it was kind of Orb and California Chrome and Justify and American Pharaoh. There was probably 6 winners, or 6 favorites that won in the last probably 10 years or whatever that's been. So I think Orb was 2013. So there's been about 6, but in 1990s, 0, 1980s, 0.
Interesting.
Just being the favorite doesn't automatically, give you
But now
a
with all the
win
horses
here.
that have PEDs, if they're the favorite, they're gonna win.
Hopefully there are none.
Science and math and drugs. So the favorite, Caleb mentioned the Epicenter, and then I don't know if Ricky mentioned your favorite yet. Who's your number one? I'm only gonna bet 1 ticket on 1 horse.
Yeah, I
Winner.
think if I had a gun to my head, I would probably take the number 1 horse, Modonigal.
Mo Donegal. Right now, I'm looking at is 10-1. Is that right?
He's 10-1. He's got a really good trainer in Todd Pletcher. He has one of the. It depends on how you look at it, but I read Ortiz is probably one of the top jockeys in the world.
So let me interrupt you there real quick.
Yeah.
If a month and a half ago, maybe 2 months ago, you were talking up this White Abarrio guy who's also 10-1. So even though Mo and White are both 10-1, and you told me White Abarrio, he's gonna win. He's gonna win. If he gets in, he's gonna win. He's gonna win. Depends on the draw, but he's gonna win. He's got the exact same odds as the other guy. So you're telling me you're no longer favoriting the horse that has the exact same odds to win as this Mo Donegal guy. Why is that?
I don't like that he's in the 15 hole, if I'm being honest. I said I don't really like horses on the outside. 15 is probably my cutoff. I think White Abarrio has probably enough skill to, be in the conversation to still win this. I mean, I think he's only slipped up once in his career. It happened to be at Churchill Downs, but I ain't going to fault him for being 2 years old and losing to Classic Causeway and Smile Happy, which were really good horses at 2 years old. I think he has a shot, but I like Mo Donegal's draw better, and
you like the rail better than the fifth. The rail hasn't won since 1986.
Don't talk about Ferdinand. Don't talk about Ferdinand like that. Don't talk about Ferdinand.
Yeah, I
We're
wasn't
not
even
bringing
alive
Ferdinand in here.
last time a horse won from the rail.
When you say rail, does that mean the first? Does that mean right
That's
on the rail, like
long
number
pace.
1?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
I will say that maybe we have some Owens going for us, since you're taking somebody with an 0-72 streak in Kentucky. No, since they changed the gate and they manufactured the big 20 post gate, it sits a little bit farther off the rail now. There just really hasn't been anyone that I've ever liked in the 1 hole since they've switched that. Maybe it's been 4 or 5 years. I can't remember when they implemented it, but Mo Donegal has a late closing kick where he's not going to be affected by the first turn, and that's the problem with being in the 1 spot or sometimes the 2 spot, is when you're going down the back stretch at your first turn, all these horses from your outside are also trying to turn in, and it usually will cause a traffic jam. This horse doesn't want to be in the front. He's not going to be in the front, so I'm not worried about him being caught up in traffic until down the actual stretch. Then we're going to have a problem maybe. But
so based on math and geometry, when Caleb first mentioned why would you like a horse in the 1 spot, if anybody that watches the Olympics and the track racing, they stagger their starts because of the advantage of someone that's in that one spot. So it's staggered, so they all have equal distance to run. But in this one, it's not staggered. They all get released at the exact same location on the track out of the release spot. So how? So I guess my question is, if they're the favored horse before the draw and they get the one spot, wouldn't that be like a lock then because they have the shortest distance?
Depends on their run speed, or their run style. I don't know if you have a different opinion on that, but if they're, quick enough, then they won't get caught up in traffic, and if they're a closer, they'll be
So
far
you're
enough
saying
behind.
what from all of the races that you've ever watched, the one spot, or what Caleb refers to as the rail, which of course means they're closest to the rail, that is a disadvantage, even though it's the lowest the lowest distance from, I guess, gate release to finish line. In theory, is the worst spot because you can get jammed up if they don't have such an incredible lead. They get jammed in that spot on the turns. Is what you're saying?
Yeah, that's absolutely correct. So
Okay.
You kind of get forced into a send really hard, really fast early and burn up too much energy, or take way back and try to pass 19 horses late. Neither one of which is usually very likely to work.
yeah,
But there are rules which we've seen in disqualifications in the past where the horses, the same as the guys who are running track at the Olympics, they have to hold their lane, or is that not the case? Am I mistaken that horses in derbies, specifically the Kentucky Derby with 20 guys there, they don't have to hold their lane, or do they still have to hold their lane?
they have to hold their lane to an extent so that they're not impeding another horse.
How many years ago was that where we saw that big disqualification because it went like 2 lanes over on a turn?
Was that 3 years ago?
Yeah, maximum security. So,
See,
that's
I
probably about
remember
3.
things. I'm not too much of a noob. I remember some things.
Yeah.
I'm probably floored right now that I knew that.
Yeah, no,
This guy.
you did remember that. That's wild. I remembered it too because I like that.
Because
horse.
you're a horse guy.
I remember. 'Cause I lost money today.
Just to kind of recap here, we just talked about the favorite horses. So if you're only betting on one, Caleb likes Epicenter, and then Ricky said Mo Donegal. Now, if you're like, okay, I get it, but where am I supposed to bet? It depends on your location, what state you reside in. We were mentioning earlier, before we started recording, that FanDuel, because FanDuel owns the #1 horse racing channel, TVG, they or their parent company owns that, so it's part of their brand now, or their collective brand, I guess you can say. That FanDuel does have options, a lot more options than the average U.S. regulated sports book in terms of to bet. But I'm pretty sure if you're only going to be betting to win, I'm pretty sure every sports book, like DraftKings, FanDuel, I'm pretty sure any sports book we're partnered with is going to have at least, at minimum, those just basic 2 bets or 2 win bets. So it depends on where you live. So I don't know where you live when you're watching this video. You know where you live. So what you need to do is you need to go to betkarma.com/where-to-bet, where to bet with hyphens in between those words. Or you should go to betkarma.com and click on where to bet. You select your state from the drop-down list. It's going to tell you which, out of all of our partners, are available for your specific state. Because right now, only states are getting legalized one at a time, and not every single sports book is in every single state. So we've made it very easy by creating this where to bet page. If you are not in a U.S. legal sports betting state, I do not have any recommendations for you because technically we cannot give you a recommendation unless it's in a U.S. legal state. So you can find that out for yourself. But if you're in one of those, use the betkarma.com where to bet page. I do want to mention as well, I believe Ricky was mentioning earlier that typically what he does for these events, he does like a cheat sheet, like a sports betting cheat sheet card for the horse racing events, and he 99 times out of 100 would drop them in our free horse betting channel inside of our Discord. So if you actually are interested in learning more about horse betting, or maybe just the DFS side with Stable Duel, which is available in a lot more states that aren't necessarily U.S. legal betting yet, which is of course a huge plus. I think they're actually in, I think there's only like 2 states maybe they're not active in. Stable Duel's pretty much everywhere. So it kind of gets your feet wet on learning about what to look for and stuff like that by playing the fantasy side of things, which is why they're such a great partner for us. But yeah, so we have a free horse racing betting and DFS chat room that you guys can get into and learn about stuff. Or if you're already knowledgeable and you just want insight in the cheat sheets that Ricky puts out and Caleb and all the articles that Caleb writes as well, go to betkarmachat.com. So betkarmachat.com, just type that in your browser. As soon as you type that in and hit the search or the go button or whatever whatever browser you're using, it'll pull up the invite to the chat room, and then you just have to sync your betkarma.com account, and then you get all that access for free. So that's, and these guys are doing horse racing content every single week. But for this particular race, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Ricky, that cheat sheet that he normally does, we're actually going to put that on betkarma.com as well, kind of like in an article format. So you'll get that inside of the Discord chat room, the free chat room that we just mentioned, and also on the website as well. So keep your peepers popped for that. So now that we've gone through the two win
we're
bets,
popping our peepers, huh?
you gotta pop the peepers. Keep your peepers popped, man. You gotta keep them popped. So now that we've gone through the basics, the people that only care about, I don't care about the trifectas, anything that ends with an ecta. I don't care about the ectas. I just want the two wins. They've watched this. They're like, got it. I don't need to watch anymore. But now these people that are hardcore horse racing fans, when it comes to betting, they want to know the sexiness that can turn like $1 into, what did Ricky have like a year or so ago, like 50 cents into like 36,000, this crazy psychopath. Like, how long ago was that?
Yeah, that was probably like 4 years ago, 3 years ago.
That long ago? I don't know.
It was like right before the pandemic, so
Yeah.
whenever that was, we lost time.
It's the craziest screenshot of horse racing screenshot I've ever seen in my life, and it probably will always be. Where I don't even know what happened in that. I just know that it turned a very small amount of money into a very large amount of money. But for those that are watching now, and you're like, Travis, please, for the love of all that's holy, stop talking and let the smart guys talk. That's what we're gonna do right here. So, I don't know if you guys have specific ectabets that I call them the ectabets. I'm gonna trademark that. If you have specific things like that, but I'm gonna stop talking and you guys talk about all of the more hardcore stuff that you're looking at in terms of the ectabets, I guess. So I will stop talking. Whoever wants to go first, go ahead and fill these people's brains with knowledge.
Caleb, I'll let you go ahead first if you have anything. I know I'll say one thing real fast is that we had a gun to our heads and we picked one horse, but if you're still here and listening, you're probably a little bit nerdy and you want to hear who else we like. We don't always will just play one horse on top of our tickets. We'll usually spread a little bit, and Kentucky Derby's the one race where you want to spread. Payouts are always insane. There's probably going to be like $75 million in the pool. It's when people you don't know reach out to you and say, "Hey, who are we betting?" And they don't bet except for one time a year. This is that race. So I'll let you go ahead and share maybe maybe two horses that you also like, or how you're going to play the Kentucky Derby, and then I'll take my turn.
Yeah, that sounds good. And yeah, I just probably would expand on what Ricky said. I mean, we talked about the horses we like, but the nuts and bolts and how the sausage is made will be in the Discord and the cheat sheets.
How the sausage is made.
So that's where the good stuff is. So yeah, I mean, y'all know my opinion on Epicenter. I think he's the horse to beat, and I'm going to be keying him and a number of different ectabets, as Travis would call it. To look at a few other horses that I think are interesting. From my opinion, is I'm going to be playing against most likely Mo Donegal, almost certainly given the draw, and Zandon I'm inclined to play against, although I do kind of respect him. Ever since the Derby went to the points to the system to where you need to qualify based on route races and not just earnings, closers have been up against it. They haven't done very well. So I'm going to try to get around some of the shorter priced closers and look for some more of the stalker presser kind of horses that can be a little more forwardly placed. So for me, I mean, I think that the one horse that, I think people are forgetting about a little bit is the number 5 Smile Happy. And he potentially was just a precocious 2-year-old that hasn't quite moved forward as much as 3. But if you look at his numbers and how fast he's run and who he's been running against, he's right there. I mean, he wasn't beaten by Zandon all that much last time out, and he probably was a little closer to a fast pace. So I don't see why Zandon should be 5-2 and Smile Happy should be 20-1. So for me, I think he's a horse that kind of gets a decent mid-pack trip. He gets a really cozy draw. So I'm not sure that he can totally win. I don't know that I'd love him on top, but I very much like him to run second or third at a nice price. The other horse that I'd probably be looking at a little bit, well, I do like the horse Ricky mentioned earlier, White Barrio, but a horse that I think might also run more likely underneath than anywhere else would be the 13 Simplification. I don't think that this horse can win this race. I really don't. But I thought that last race wasn't as bad as it looked. He was just, once again, on the lead, going a little too fast. I think he's better off the pace. I think Jose Ortiz, the jockey, will take him off the pace. So for me, I think that he's going to get one of those mid-pack kind of trips once again. He's not too far outside, but he also gets to avoid the rail. And I think he's another one that might come running late and get a minor award of this. So I'll be playing most of my bets with Epicenter on top, and then trying to key some of the mid-priced horses like Smile Happy, Simplification, and probably a handful of others as well. But I could talk about half the field, so I'm curious what Ricky thinks.
Yeah, I think Simplification is probably a good one. I'm probably gonna use him maybe for third or fourth if I venture into superfecta land. On dirt, he's never finished worse than third. So, he's really consistent, but I think where my focus will be is probably the horses coming from California. I know that Caleb is sort of against, maybe completely against Taiba. I think Taiba has just the craziest upside here. I know why he's knocked. I know why he's 12-1. The last horse that's won the Kentucky Derby that has only had 2 races prior to the Derby, I think is like 1894. So like he's got a lot of work to do, but he's a $1.7 million horse. He's owned by the same owner that owned Medina Spirit, which obviously we know was disqualified a month ago. So he's owned by the same group. He's trained by Bob Baffert, who's now transferred him because Bob Baffert is suspended and banned from the Kentucky Derby for 2 years. So he goes over to Yakteen's barn, and I think that there's just so much upside. And if you're going to tell me that we're going to have 12-1 on a $1.7 million horse that has destroyed, albeit small fields, but he took out some heavy favorites, I'm gonna have Taiba probably on the top of my tickets, more so defensively than I think this horse just does it all. He's coming out of 5-horse fields, so you don't know what he's gonna do when he sees 19 other horses next to him, and it's gonna be hard to imagine him passing so many horses, but we'll see. The other horse I like is Messier. He's also from the same California. Bob Baffert transfer. This one at least has more experience, and he doesn't seem to have a problem going the distance. I think his last race in the Santa Anita Derby was probably more so his trainer saying, hey, if Taiba comes up on you, you don't need to go all out. We want Taiba in and we want Messier in. And I know that they have different owners, but when it comes to, you're the trainer, you say don't work your horse that hard if our other guy's coming on. So I'm curious if that's what happened. And then I'll also point out that Messier is on the same exact path as Medina Spirit was last year, where a horse called Rock Your World, came and destroyed, I think, Medina Spirit in the Santa Anita Derby. And then Rock Your World was supposed to do something crazy in, Kentucky Derby, and I think he might have finished last. He might still be running. I don't know where he's at. So Messier at 8-1 is such a good price on a horse that's kind of. I think he's being forgotten. I know 8-1. You're still in single-digit odds, but that's pretty high. And then I will mention one more, and it's only because I've been on this horse for a minute, and I like this horse so much in Dubai. I think he's a little slower, but I have to mention Crown Pride, because when he won the Dubai race, I'm like, and I was on him, and he was 20-1 that day, and all of his previous races just look so good. I think that this horse may surprise. If you haven't been following horse racing, which if you're still here, you have been, because you wouldn't still be listening. The Japanese horses have been winning everything. They went to Dubai. They won, 6 out of 8 races. They won maybe 4 or 5 in Saudi Arabia. They came here to the Breeders' Cup last November. They won 2 really good races. If you think Japan isn't focused on these races and trying to say, hey, we got horses too, it's not just America the Great. I think Crown Pride may surprise people, and I think Crown Pride probably finishes top 4. So that's where I'm standing.
Noob
You know,
And I know you're gonna hate it.
I can stomach Messier easily. You know, I could probably hold my nose and maybe get past Taba, but boy, the Crown Pride. I mean, he will be the biggest underlay in the entire field come Saturday.
So the last time Japanese horse came in, I think it was Master Fencer, and I think he finished 6th. This horse is way better. His paternal grandpa is Sunday Silence, who I think missed the Triple Crown in the 80s by a nose or a head. He just missed in the Belmont. So he won the Derby. He won the Preakness. He's bred for the distance. There should be no issue. The question is, does he have enough speed? His speed figures definitely kind of lack, but you know, this is the time to take a step up, and he's been training lights out. Besides his one mishap where he made a left turn out of the gate, but the gates here are different.
Noob question alert.
Oh yeah.
When you say Japanese horse, are these horses that are owned by Japanese, I guess, just owners, or are they actually bred, raced in Japan, and then are just transported for the American big races like this?
Yeah, so they are. I mean, I guess Sunday Silence was an American horse, but he was purchased by Japanese interests, shipped over to Japan, and they keep their bloodline pretty pure over there. And these horses are born in Japan usually. They're raced in Japan, and the Kentucky Derby has certain races that give points to Japanese horses, just like they do for some of the other, like Dubai. You can bring, anyone who gets enough points can get in. And we have 2 Japanese horses in this race, which is Summer is Tomorrow, the 4-horse, and Crown Pride. Both of those horses came out of the same race in Dubai, and that's where they got their points to get in.
Noob comment following noob question is when you're I would love to find a picture, which I'm going to after we finish recording this, of what this transport looks like, because the first image that popped into my head of horse transport, you guys remember the 1990s movie Operation Dumbo Drop?
Yes.
Where it's literally like
Yes.
Elephant with a parachute on a platform just being literally dropped into like a war zone. I don't know. I think it's fascinating. I guess I know it happens. I know horses, especially when they race in Dubai and everything, they have to get flown everywhere. But I actually have never. I don't think I've ever seen an image of a plain horse transport. So that's something I'm gonna look up. Anyway, something I want to mention. I know you guys are talking about different horses you like, and I know that we're gonna have a cheat sheet on betkarma.com, and also that we're gonna be posting inside of our free chat room at betkarmachat.com. But something to reward the like you said, the nerdy listeners who have made it this far in the podcast. If you have more to say, of course, you can continue to talk about other horses and stuff. But let's make sure that we get in one, as Travis coined them, ectobets, into the podcast to reward people who have made it this far. If you guys already have something in mind, or do you not have anything in mind yet?
Well, I think Caleb mentioned that he was probably playing Epicenter on top with other horses that he was just mentioning. Probably underneath is probably his exacta. I'll let him speak, but I will say that I will be using a combination of horses that just include Modonigal, Messier, and Taiba on top, and I will probably use those horses plus Crown Pride and White Abario underneath. I'm throwing out Epicenter, and Zandon runs the same race as Modonigal, but Modonigal's faster in the late stages. So if I'm on Modonigal, I'm not going to be on Zandon. It's the same horse, just not as quick to me. I know he's more proven in the bluegrass, but I'm going to play a 1-6-12 over a 1-6-7-12-15 exacta.
Caleb,
Well, it's tough giving out bets ad hoc, just given the number of horses in here, and it gets a little confusing in the ecto world that we're in.
Yeah.
But, as Ricky mentioned, just for the pod, I'll give out an easy exacta. I'm going to key Epicenter over 4 horses that I think can run underneath. I'm going to key Smile Happy, who I talked about, underneath, along with both of the California horses, Messier and Taiba. And I'm also going to throw in Simplification and White Abario. So I guess 5 horses I miscounted. I think those are all horses that I like to get a piece of it. I think they are all pretty versatile. And I'm going to try to get away from Zandon. Hope he doesn't run in the top two, or Modongle for that matter. So hoping for Epicenter on top and then having a handful underneath. But I'll have a number of other trifectas and other bets too come Saturday.
So I know at the beginning of this podcast we mentioned that recently, very often recently, that the most favorite horse has actually won. But you guys are mentioning that you're off of Zandon. Is it because that their odds don't pay out enough to be on them? Or Ricky kind of already answered this where he said that Mo and Zandon are the same horse. Mo's just better. So there's no point in doing a 3-1 when you can have a 10-1 in there. But I guess this is a more Caleb question because I don't know if you've touched on this. But are we fading Zandon because of Zandon, or are we fading Zandon because they're 3-1?
Yeah, so for me, I'm fading Zandon because of Zandon. And it's not that I don't think he's a good horse, because I do think he's a very talented colt. But the problem is he's a closer, which he means he runs from the back of the pack. He's going to have to pass most of the horses to win this race because he's not that fast early. And generally in the last 10 years or so, that run style has just not been successful at all in getting horses to win the Kentucky Derby. If you're not already in contention, turning for home with another eighth of a mile or so to go, you pretty much don't win. You can run third or fourth or sometimes second, but for me, I'm not looking to take a deep closer at a short price.
If you guys have anything else, you can definitely chime in here. But one question I wanted to make sure I ask before we wrap this up is, I know you guys, of course, are the smartest horse people in the world, and you guys bet on the horses all the time. The question is, how much more of your horse betting bankroll are you putting into the Derby because it is the Derby? Like, people can bet, let's use NFL, which is for people who aren't familiar with horse racing betting. Let's use NFL as an example where people are betting, they're betting every single week, they're betting playoffs, but then the Super Bowl, like, you get a little bit more money into it because it's the Super Bowl. This being the Super Bowl for horse racing, are you guys going a lot above your average? Or are you still kind of keeping it normal to what you're accustomed to?
For me, if you've been around, I post futures for everybody, which is just getting horses prior to the Derby that you hope ends up with a good draw, but usually their odds are pretty high. So when you factor in that plus Derby day, it ends up being more, but typically it's really hard to hit your, ECTA.
I like that we're keeping on with that.
I'm trying.
Trademark it, man.
I'm trying because, trifecta and superfecta work, but the exacta is actually an A, so it's actually an acta for that. But
it depends on where you're from. It depends on your accent. They're all like this.
That's true. Okay. So those are so hard to hit. So you usually do have to spend up for those, but I would say just for that race specifically, I would keep it about the same. But if you factor in futures, it's more.
Okay. And then Caleb, what about you and your bankroll strategy for this?
Yeah, I'd say for me that I do spend more on the Kentucky Derby weekend as opposed to a normal weekend. But I also sort of plan it out that way. So I'm more of a weekend bettor. I don't do a whole lot during the week itself. And like last weekend, I didn't really bet anything because I was planning on spending about 2 to 3 times what I would spend on a normal weekend is what I'll put in the Kentucky Derby. And I don't mean just into this one particular race, but on the overall Kentucky Derby card all day on Saturday, as well as even part of the Kentucky Oaks card on Friday, which is the same thing as the Kentucky Derby, but for the fillies and mares, or for the fillies, so for the female horses. So yeah, I would say my bankroll probably goes up compared to a normal week by about a factor of 2 or 3, but I generally kind of take my foot off the gas for 2 or 3 weeks leading up to that so that it kind of balances out in the end.
I'll also point out that, the Kentucky Derby is obviously what everyone tunes into, but there's stakes races and, high caliber races throughout the whole day. I don't know, there might be 7 or 8 stake races on the card, so you're looking at really high caliber races that you probably do want to spend money on. So I get what Caleb is saying. I was specifically talking about just this race for the Kentucky Derby, that you keep it about the same unless you're spending up on one of those dollar superfectas.
Those good old ECTA plays. The last thing I had a question on was just so we can get some amazing clip if it happens, I need each of your craziest hot takes. So I know you already said what you think's going to happen based on your knowledge and everything, but I need you to say still something that could be based on your knowledge, but like the craziest hot take for the Derby, so we can clip only you saying that and make you guys sound like you were the geniuses of all geniuses, which of course you already are, but I mean like get it like crazy viral or like ESPN picks it up. So start with you, Caleb. If you're going to pick, just it can be an actual bet or just something in general, but your craziest hot take for this particular race.
Craziest hot take. I'm gonna say craziest hot take is that Happy Jack, who is 99-1, is gonna finish ahead of Taba, who's gonna be probably third or fourth pick.
Yikes!
All right,
that's hot.
Happy Jack.
That's hot.
Finishing, that's hot. Just finishing anywhere. Just finishing above.
Finishing above Taba. I would not be surprised in the slightest to see Taba get wrapped up and finish last.
Okay, and then Ricky, what is your hot take?
Yeah, Japan's winning this race. They're coming here. They're coming to America, and Crown Pride is actually going to win this race.
21.
And he'll be probably 50-1. I don't think he'll get too much money on him. He'll probably go down.
Oh, so in the few days leading up to Saturday, there's a lot of fluctuation because, of course, the books have to balance out, like the Zandon and the Epicenters and the Messiers getting so much money that they're actually can go. Crown Pride, in theory, could go from 21 to 51 by the time the race starts.
That's correct. It's all just in one big pool. So your win bet, your win pool is what drives the money, the odds. So.
So you want with you guys saying like your ecta bets that you're set, the ones that you just dropped and what you've been talking about of your favorite horses, are you locking those in ASAP because they are a lot of the top like 5 or 6 favored ones, and so they're going to be less of a payout if you wait till Saturday, or are you waiting to see what fluctuations happen in the market?
In horse racing, it's all about when the bell rings and the gates open. That's the odds you get. It's not sports betting where you're getting 10-1 today unless I'm not allowed to speak about it because they're, offshore type things. Unless you find a futures type deal, you're only getting those. You're getting whatever odds they go off at. So right now they're 10-1.
To doing it early.
Yeah.
Oh wait, so sorry. I you said the entire sentence, and I think at the very end I understood what you were saying. So you're saying if I lock in just a trifecta or any of the ectas, the odds that I get on that combination of horses are based on what the odds are when the gates open.
Correct.
Oh, so you don't even have to worry about when you plug it in because you only get the gate odds anyway. Interesting.
That's right. And so, like how Caleb said, Happy Jack will finish above Taiba. Happy Jack is not going to get bet in this race. Happy Jack will be probably the farthest. I think he'll probably have the lowest pool in the win bets. So he'll probably be 99-1 on your screen. I think Crown Pride will go up. He'll probably go up to 50-1, maybe 30-1. I'm probably trying to get a little cute and say he'll get to 50-1, but I doubt it.
Gotcha. All right. Well, we are now like 40 minutes in. We've got a lot of knowledge bombs we dropped. I think I personally like hosting a podcast where I am the noob, because I feel like I learned a lot of things as well, and I ask questions because I'm literally intrigued and interested in learning things. So I feel like I learned a lot on this one, beyond what I've already learned from you guys over your time with Karma. But if there's, do you guys have any other nuggets you want to drop? Any other 2 cents, or is that pretty much it for this Kentucky Derby here for 2022?
Yeah, I'll drop this. Tiz the Bomb will finish last. That's mine. So if you can find anywhere that offers who will finish last, take him for dead last.
Yeah, he's up against it, isn't he?
Absolutely.
Any other nuggets for you, Caleb?
Nothing too much. I think I would just say don't sleep on. The Kentucky Derby is obviously the highlight, but as Ricky said, it's a full day of racing, and then there's the Kentucky Oaks on Friday, which is the Kentucky Derby for the girls, and it's another great day of racing with a lot of money to be made. So don't ignore the other races as well, because there's some good action going on. And the Oaks is probably
any cheat sheets for that, Ricky? Or are either of you going to be doing any cheat sheets or content for the Oaks?
Maybe a little cheat sheet.
I'll probably have a cheat sheet up for the Oaks, or at least for the
Cool.
Oaks
All right,
stakes
so yeah,
races.
you made it this far. Congratulations. You are a horse nerd. You've been dubbed an official horse nerd like these guys as well. And go into betkarmachat.com to get those. I appreciate you guys tuning in. Make sure you have already clicked that thumbs up on this video, subscribe to this YouTube channel, and if you win something crazy with the knowledge bombs that have been dropped by Caleb and Ricky, please post a screenshot either on Twitter and tag at bet_karma, or if you're already in our Discord, just drop it in the bet screenshots channel because we'd love to see that as well. But gentlemen, appreciate your time. Good luck this weekend, and yeah, that's a wrap.
Thanks.
See you
Good
guys.
luck.